Welcome to the Lovefly podcast and welcome Chloe Gill. Nice to see you again.
You too. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. So Chloe and I met because Chloe's just recently attended the Manchester in-person course, and we wanted, a couple of people that have perhaps been on there to say what was their story, because when people turn up, you sometimes know a little bit about them. You might feel like you know us because of the podcasts and stuff, but it's quite nice to get someone's backstory and how you got to being at the Manchester course, how it was, how you've been since, what's your plans, all that malarkey. So, Chloe, tell us a bit about you. Tell us a bit your backstory.
Okay. Where shall I start? So yeah, I'm Chloe. I live in the northwest of England. I am approaching a very significant birthday this year, a bit of a milestone. And my fear of flying has been a bit of like an up and down journey, I would say, probably stretching the last almost 30 years.
Really? Wow.
Which is quite, there's definitely been like ups and highs but a few downs, and it's an interesting one. Do you want me to sort of start with when I first?
Yeah, do it. We people love, what it's like. If people listen to the podcast, people love the backstory, like where you come from to where you got to,
Yeah. Okay. I tried to think about this before, in preparation and speaking to you. And I think the first time I remember being really afraid on a plane was in my very early 20s, on the way home from quite an energetic girls' holiday, I would say. We just sort of finished uni a year or two.
That's euphemism for a
lot of partying. It was really good fun. But I just remember the flight home. I just remember being really, really frightened, and what it was, which I learnt about many years later, it was that kind of like dipping thing after takeoff that just threw me. I've never noticed it before. I'd flown a few times as like a teenager with family, but I really, for some reason, really noticed this on that flight. And then from there, all the way back from Mallorca, so it's only like a 2.5-hour flight, I was just, in my mind, was like how I just couldn't understand how the plane was staying in the air. It felt like this plane is like battling to stay up. But it was one of those package holiday flights where it was about 3:00 in the morning. You'd have to leave your hotel at 10:00 the day before, so probably like really tired. And it was the end of a holiday. I was flying back to there was stuff going on at home that I was probably a bit anxious about but didn't realise. So that was the first time I remember being really, really frightened and sort of thinking, I don't think I can do this again. And then there was a gap until 2008. So I didn't fly then until 2008. And a really good friend of mine was getting married and wanted me to be her bridesmaid, and that was in Mallorca. And I'd researched an overland route, and it was possible, but my partner at the time, he was going to be away in America for work beforehand. There basically wasn't time to do an overland trip there beforehand.
So you can get there overland. How long would that take?
You can. Well, we did do that overland trip coming back, because I was I did your Virgin Fear of Flying course, then found out about that, and that got me on a plane.
Okay.
So that was that was the first flight I've been on in 11 years. But I didn't feel like I could commit to going both ways. It took, so coming back, it was quite funny. Well, it wasn't funny at the time, but coming back, and it was quite a cool road trip, but we went from Mallorca to Barcelona, and the ferry from Mallorca to Barcelona was so rough, they had to turn the engines off and not drive, whatever you do, sail really slowly, and they had to like pull all the shutters down on the bar and everything. And I remember being absolutely terrified and thinking the irony that I avoided flying home, and now I might like die somewhere in like off between the Balearic Islands and
it's so much smoother than a flight, isn't it?
And obviously it lasted much longer. And we did have quite a cool road trip back and made a holiday of it, but obviously that was really quite expensive, and the rough seas bit was not fun. But I did it. I understood more about the noises on the plane and the dropping thing, and I did get to be bridesmaid for my friend, so that was really great.
Yeah, that's good.
However, I didn't fly again for another 5 years. And it was another, I think was that, I think I was coming up to, I was approaching 40 at that point, and I think I was, doing that sort of reflecting and what I've done, what I haven't done, and decided that I would try flying again for another friend's wedding. People getting married apparently is the motivation I need to.
Sort of takes, that's the catalyst.
Yeah. So a friend was getting married in near Newquay in Cornwall, and I was living in London at the time, and I decided to fly there rather than get a really long train journey. And it was such a beautiful flight down there. It was gorgeous, because you can't get that high, because it's such a short plane ride that they don't have time to get that high. Really beautiful day. Followed the south coast along, and I loved it. Coming back, it was a bit it was funny. Yeah, coming back, it was really foggy. That was it. It was really foggy at the airport, and our plane was delayed. But because it was delayed, and because we were getting the plane, I remember at the time, so we ended up, a friend who was at the wedding, she had family down there. We went to see them in the afternoon, like had to go in their hot tub, and they had a really nice garden and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, I wouldn't be able to do this. I was getting the train. Like these are the benefits, if you like. But that was okay. But then randomly, David Cameron was on our flight, which was a bit bizarre and made the whole thing a bit surreal, but survived that.
Yeah, well, I'm done.
So that was good. And then I think, and then there was like a 10-year period that I call like my flying heyday, where I just started going away a lot, going on lots of holidays, did some solo holidays, flights on my own, which were amazing. And I think, again, I'd still got like the little sort of fear of flying booklet that I take everywhere with me.
Really, from that original Virgin course. Okay.
Yeah. It's just so useful, just having that. I never had to refer to it on a flight, but I guess it's part of your like little security blanket, isn't it? But it's also, you have got, I think that's the thing that I noticed early on with, even though my brain was still going, oh, what's that noise? Or what does that mean? What's happening there? I've got the information. So there's another little voice in your head that goes, it's this, and it just dials the fear down a little bit, I think. So that was really good. Yeah. So I did loads of flying then.
Sounds like, I have to say, it's quite a bit of hard work there. Oh, you've got these two sets of voices going on you. This is quite normal, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. It's quite busy. It's quite busy in your brain at the time. When you see people asleep on your flight, it's just like, how do they do that? How do they?
Why aren't there two people waking them up?
Yeah, prodding them on each shoulder. And then, had some amazing experiences that I never thought I'd be able to do. And then the pandemic happened, and probably quite a familiar story to people. With the fear of flying, and probably lots of other types of things that people battle with, but didn't fly anywhere for 2 or 3 years. And you just have enough time to go backwards, and to I think what I'd done with during the heyday decade was I'd just flown regularly enough that it just became less of a big deal. It was never easy, but actually some elements of it were easy, but it wasn't. It was easy to book holidays and plan holidays. It didn't deter me at all. So I've kind of just lost that rhythm. It felt like, I flew. Was it last year? Did I go away twice last year? Yeah, it must have been. So I flew to Spain with some friends, had a fantastic holiday, and it was okay. And then I was flying again in July last year, and that was when I found Lovefly, because I felt like the anxiety had come back quite strongly.
So it's good. That's a good one. So what do you think? Because you sound like you've done really well. So why do you think the anxiety came out? Was there a particular trigger, do you think?
I think it had just become a really big deal. Again, I think just because of the amount of time in between flights, you have a lot more time to be anxious. I think the anticipative anxiety had become much worse. I'd kind of lost that positive voice in my head, and that mindset of like, this is a journey that I'm on, and this is something that's really important to me. I got to the point again where I was a bit like, I don't I'm not really bothered about going on holiday, or I'm not really bothered about. You kind of convince yourself.
Yeah,
I'm a bit ambivalent about it, and yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, and the anticipatory anxiety, I think, had really ramped up. But other than that, yeah, I don't think there was a.
No, so it's just notice an increase for no particular reason. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you found us a lot anyway. How did you find us?
Just a lot of Googling, I think. It was, and it was amazing, because I was a bit like, it's just, I recognised you, and the Facebook group is incredible. It's so incredible. It's a whole host of, people looking for support, people sharing their learning, like inspirational stories, people that you really feel for, because you can see that they're right in the, don't know where to start, and people just helping each other out, and the little clips and photos and stuff. It's really great. It's a really great little community. Well, I say little community, it's probably quite a big community. And a worldwide community. It's amazing.
No, yeah, we're so global, don't you know?
Yeah. So yeah, found that, and then I had. It must have been from some of the podcasts, because I was flying to Bordeaux last year, and some of the podcasts around anticipatory anxiety really hit home. Like, I really understood, and I am one of those people generally in life who can be a bit like, there's no point worrying about something, it's not going to change the outcome. Like, I do, I can do that in a lot of circumstances in life, but not so much with flying. So I think I'd done. It's weird, because before that flight to Bordeaux, I did feel incredibly positive, and like in the, my experience of being in the airport was quite different. But when I just remember coming back and just being like, the last day of the holiday I wasn't very well, so I was flying back and I was a bit under the weather. I just remember getting back and being like, I don't want to do that again. But it was more like, I don't want to have to go through that build up and that process, I think.
And also, the probably being unwell didn't help, did it?
No, not at all. It's a really short flight. It was fine. Maybe like a tiny bit of turbulence, but even during the turbulence, I was okay. So it was weird that I then got back and I was a bit like, I can't do that again. But I did it. Yeah, I did it. And then yes, I did do it.
You did it.
And then I'm like looking to travel at the end of May this year, and I've just been in that place again where you're having like a battle with yourself, like, do I want to do this? How much do I care about? I'm going on away with my best friend and her son. It's going to be a really lovely week, really chilled out week, really special time.
Yeah.
But your brain does that thing where it's like, you don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that much.
Well, an interesting one, Chloe, because it's been a long old journey, hasn't it? You've had sort of like times where you kind of let go of it for a while, and then the beast has come back again,
Yeah.
And you're also not afraid to sort of do something proactive about it. So you've been on the Virgin flying that course, as was.
Yeah.
And you obviously came on our Manchester course recently as well. And other things that you're doing. I just find it really interesting that you haven't given up.
No, I haven't given up, and used a really important phrase then, where you just said letting go. And I think that's such a key thing. I think it's hard to describe it to people, but you really do have to let go of the fear. Like, we hold on to it so much, and that's what's really great about things like the Facebook group, but also the face-to-face course, because you can kind of see in other people what you're doing a little bit, or and you can kind of recognize that, and recognize how we are holding on to that fear. It's almost like our security blanket to feel that fear and hold that fear. It kind of doesn't make any sense, but it also I
think it does.
Totally get it. Okay.
There is some logic, right? It might not make sense to other people, but the reason we hold on to the fear is you think at some level that if I'm not worried, then that's the problem. So I need to have this fear, otherwise I'm not thinking about flying, and therefore I'm not making sure that I'm safe. So there is some sort of weird logic to it.
Yes. No, you're right. You feel like you.
Why? Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. You feel like you're preparing well if you're like thinking through absolutely every minute detail and worrying about it, which is it's a bit silly, but as you say, there is logic to it.
Well, it's exhausting, isn't it? It's takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, it is exhausting, and it's kind of. I think I've been through. I feel better this week, but in the run up to the face-to-face course, I was feeling really sad about it. Like,
Not really.
Yeah, because I just thought, and a little bit of self-pity, but just sadness, I think, just feeling like, I've got to go through this again. Like, I was making really great progress. I really want to, so one part of your brain is saying you don't really want to do this. And then the other the other part of your brain is actually feeling sad that you can't just let go and enjoy this and just plan and have that freedom to plan for some amazing life experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me help you to remove a little bit of sadness, okay? I see the way that with the courses, and anybody who proactively takes some help, it's no different to going, you want to get fit, and you're pretty motivated, but you book 6 sessions with a physical training instructor, and you put some dosh towards it, and it makes you then commit. And they don't tell you anything that you don't know already. What they do is they just take you through your paces a bit. And so then afterwards, you can often feel quite motivated for quite a while, And I think it's the same with a course or, the first aid program or whatever, people do. It's a really healthy injection of practical, positive, whatever. And that's what you did. So you shouldn't feel sad about it, because we all need a little bit of a boost every now and then, like customer care training in companies or appraisal skills. You don't. It's not like one and done. Every couple of years, and if you're a leader, you end up doing leadership training every few years, because we always need a bit of an input and a refresh. So stop beating yourself up. All right.
Okay. Yes.
All right, Chloe. Big birthday coming up. It's like special time.
Yeah. And I think what we're kind of been going a bit wrong the last couple of years prior to the course was kind of, I'd be like, I'll do it just to get on this one flight, and then that flight was over. I was like, brilliant, I don't have to do it now, and that's like the wrong headspace to be in. I know that, and now having done the face-to-face course, and now I'm doing literally just started the 30-day program. I've sort of like switched the other way. I'm kind of like getting back in touch with that and motivation that I had before, and that mindset where I don't know, whatever you'd call it, something you'd have a proper word for it.
Oh yeah,
the growth mindset or something. But it's like that. But it's where you're kind of leaning towards your fear and seeing it as a process, and just letting yourself think a bit more flexibly, having that, and being a bit more open-minded to the fact that this is something you can do. You don't just have to do it like once a year and just get through it and then just worry about it till the next time for 11 months. It can be. So, I need to book another flight. I think I need to have a flight after my next flight, if that makes sense, to kind of keep moving forwards. So, yeah.
I think people, that's my impression, right? They don't notice the little gains, and they're disappointed when there aren't massive ones. And so when you've done stuff like back in 2008, you've done the course with us, and then you've gone and done a flight, and then you've had 10 years of like, my timing's wrong maybe, but you've had some, and then that's sort of what you see. But we forget that incrementally you're improving. So every time you go, I'm going to go and do this, I'm going to book that flight, is a step in the right direction. And eventually, I've seen this so many times, is that it just starts to become less of a thing. It might be that there's always a little tiny thought for some people, they think, oh, I wonder if it, but no more than a normal person might have. I get on a flight and I think, I don't think I'm going to die, but I do think, well, wouldn't it be ironic? Wouldn't it be ironic if I was I was like,
you must think, oh my God.
Bloody, they'll all go, yeah, I told you.
Yeah.
So I have that irrational thought that I have to sort of laugh at. I get that one, because I just think it's
Yeah.
That would be funny, because one of the first pilots that I worked with was unfortunately killed flying an aircraft, but it was a Spitfire.
Oh.
So he was the first pilot when I set up in 97.
Yeah.
And he used to teach people to fly the Spitfire, which is a really old aircraft, responsive in its day, but like compared to now. Unfortunately, in 2000, he was killed flying it, teaching somebody else. And it was all over the papers, flying without fear pilot, so you can imagine all that. So people who are there's always reasons to keep the fear.
Yeah.
I don't know why I told you that story, but it's just, so I think, you're you're on a journey really. And as cheesy as it sounds, you're doing lots of good stuff.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it, like, all the work that I've done so far. It's like a bit of a well, like a reserve well. It's a bit of a weird analogy. And it's just, you need to tap back into that a little bit, like it's there. You think you've lost it, but actually it's not lost. You just need to find your way back to it a little bit, I think. And that's where I feel like I am at the moment. I feel much more positive. And it's a real emotional thing. Like for me, there is a bit of residual fear about the mechanics and, weather and all that, definitely. But for me, I kind of really need to tap into that. Why is this important? What does it mean to me to have these life experiences and have this freedom and not be controlled by fear?
And what does it mean to you to have all that?
Gosh, it means so much, because I think when I was really afraid and not flying, it was at a time, I suppose, in life when a lot of my friends were going away and having like, a year doing lots of traveling and things like that. And you feel like kind of like gap between your life and your peers, the life of your peers really widening in that respect. And you kind of put yourself in a bit of a box, really, a bit of a pigeonhole of like, I can't do this. This isn't for me. And I think being able to step outside that box and take some risks, and I've just been able to like fulfill a few dreams. I went the one trip that I was amazing and I'm really proud of is I did the trans-Siberian railway journey, but I did it. That's like a Mongolian route. You can go either through Russia or through Mongolia, which was incredible. And I'd always wanted to. I mean, I know, things in Russia are not in a great place at the moment. But I'd always wanted to go to Red Square and see the basilica, and just I'd always been quite interested in Russian history, a bit geeky. So I did that. I flew to Beijing on my own and then got the train back, stopping various times to St. Petersburg, and then flew back from St. Petersburg on my own. And it was just, it was amazing. And I'm just so pleased that I could do that. And there's just the other thing it gives you is, it just gives you freedom, doesn't it? Like at the moment, I'm still a little bit kind of locked down by, I can only fly between this time and this time. I don't want to get there too late because I don't want to fly in the dark, or I don't want to fly more than 4 hours, and which is really annoying. It's really annoying because your world gets smaller, and you can watch stuff on TV. But I just think,
do did you not do 4 hours then fly another 4 hours?
Well, so when
you could cheat the system.
Yeah, when I went to Beijing, so I did initially book myself. This is when you just have to go with it. I initially booked to fly via Qatar because it was 2 6-hour flights. I was like, I can't fly direct to Beijing. That's 10 hours, 11 hours. That's too much. On the morning of my flight, I'd had a message saying, we've overbooked our flight. We've rebooked you on a BA flight. So I had to fly from Manchester to Heathrow and then from Heathrow to Beijing. So I just had to do it.
Yeah.
So I tried to cheat the system, but do you know what? It was fine actually, and I got upgraded, which obviously helped massively, as it would.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, it's lovely. I mean, I love a long flight because you get bigger aircraft and it's smoother because it's just like a big fat sausage.
Yeah.
That's a technical. But then to get upgraded as well and have a bit more space. Oh,
It was really cool. It was really cool. And I've got a real clear memory of like, you know, flying above the clouds when the sun was setting, and just, you know, it's one of those real, you can't always put it into words, can you? One of those warming moments where you're just like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be alive. Not in a,
I love that. It's really important to be mindful of that, because, you know, like, you know, we've all lost people and stuff, and it's just so mindful to be like, you know, tomorrow is promised to no one, as they say. And so, you know, you're to seize these opportunities, not let the bloody fears rob you of them. I think some of your story, that's very inspiring what you've done so far.
Oh, yeah. And I think that, you know, with the sort of the 50th birthday approaching this year, I probably do feel a bit more reflective than I would normally, you know, because you're thinking about what I've done, what the next 10, hopefully 10, 20, 30 years of my life going to look like, who's going to be around. I mean, I'm not walking around having morbid thoughts, but it's just a bit of a milestone, isn't it, where you kind of think,
yeah. You know, I felt the same. I remember that. Yeah, you know, like I passed that one, I was thinking, oh crap, I've got more behind me than in front of me, probably.
Yeah.
You know, what's that mean?
Weird. It's so weird.
You just thought you're going to live forever, and then you go, oh, maybe I won't.
Yeah. But I do think with me, and I don't know if other people feel the same or whether it is just about flying, but I do think, you know, there are parallels, I think, between how you feel about flying and how you're, if and how you're relating to that fear and working with that fear and other stuff that's going on in your life. I think.
All right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what am I trying to say. I just think because you know, it's about your relationship with fear, isn't it? I think if you are dominated by a fear, you know, your brain is very aware of that. You're conscious and subconsciously aware of that, and it knocks your self-esteem and things like that. So, yeah, I think it is important to be kind to yourself, but also just keep thinking about the steps forward that you're taking.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, it's now part of a lot of airlines put it in a category, and this might offend people. It's not meant to, but it's just to sort of recognise the importance of it. But fear of flying is considered a hidden disability, so it's something that stops you doing stuff. But for most people, it's hidden. And so when you have these things that are in your life, you know about it, but no one else does. It's like a little secret fear until it sort of like rears its big ugly head. And I thought I quite like, although whether it fits or not, I don't know, but it's just quite an interesting way to think about it. You know, and a lot of airlines have gone that route to sort of say, well, how can we best help people, you know, with this?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I haven't recently, but I do, you know, a lot of people sort of recommend telling cabin crew if you're fearful. I have done that in the past, and it has really worked. People have just it's just like a little, you know, an extra smile or just a little check-in if, you know, have to take off and stuff like that. It goes a long way, I think.
Yes.
And I think I don't know if I'm just jumping between topics, but I think what's so nice about the face-to-face course that I did and the whole approach that you have at Lovefly is it's very, you know, you take it seriously. You really like empathic or sympathetic. I can never remember which is which. You know,
whichever the better I'll have. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Or maybe both. You know, you're really kind with it, but you're also, you know, you do have this sort of like lighter side to it, and you know, when you use humour and I think that really works because it makes people feel a bit looked after, but also like, you know, it's not all like doom and gloom.
No, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
because that's the whole team. We're all like that. Everyone was working with me with this, you know, like including the co-founders. We've all got a long history together, and you know, we want people similar. And exactly, that's really nice the way that you can see that. We do think we are very, very, very caring, and you know, we get it. But also, I think there is a place for a bit of humour, being able to laugh, step back, laugh at yourselves, because we all do weird stuff as humans anyway, don't we? And if people knew half the stuff that's in my head, but you know what I mean. So it's important that we can sort of step back and just be a bit light about it, you know. So I'm glad that's coming across, all right.
because it is, it is also like a really common mode of transport. It's really, really safe. So I think in one sense, it's important to be a bit lighthearted as well, because because it is so normal and so safe.
Yeah.
Let's not give too much weight to the idea that it's dangerous and should be frightening. I think
yeah. So I was interested when you came on, because you've done like lots of flights and stuff like that. And because you brought up the Manchester course again, how did you find that aircraft that we used? Or did it trigger you at all?
Do you know what? It did a little bit. It was so interesting. It's such an amazing venue. It's so cool. Like, just for a day out, like, it's brilliant.
Weirdo.
I know. It was really good.
With respect.
Yeah, thanks. Do you know, it did a little bit, because I suppose, and this is where like the fear of flying can kind of like seep into other areas of your life. Like when I didn't realise that you were possibly going to shut the door. I don't know why. I didn't realise that. And I think you said, shall I close it or leave it open? And I'd got that kind of inner battle. Part of me was like, I really want you to leave that door open, and part of me was just like, no, like you've got to just sit with it. I can feel that my heart rate has just gone up, even though we're on the ground. Like you've still got that same.
Yeah.
Those like little thoughts in your head going, what if you want to get out? What if you start to
amazing, isn't it?
What if you make a fuss in front of people? It was really, and you did close it, and I was just like, just sit with it. And I'm really glad I did, because you have to do that. You have to go. If you're someone whose biggest fear is coping with panic or anxiety symptoms, you have to see it through. You have to see through that. The peak and then it coming out. Like, I didn't have a panic attack, but I definitely had that kind of like, oh, I didn't know you were gonna. I'm not sure if I like that, and I started to just feel more anxious. So yeah, that was a good little aspect. And then obviously we got served the drinks. It was really, and you did the safety demonstration very skillfully.
Yeah, basically, I'm never doing that again. There's so many years. I was trying to work out when was the last time I actually did the cabin crew job, and I finished my cabin crew stuff in '98, so it was a long time ago. To actually, I was in cabin crew training when I set up the original Fear of Flying courses, but then I moved into like management development stuff, and it was always like a sort of like a side thing, and I hadn't realised that how rusty you get. That when I kind of vaguely knew I still could open the door and all that stuff, but when it came to the safety bit, the demo, I felt like the right idiot,
Oh no, it was good. It was, we enjoyed it. It's fine. But it was great. The whole day was really good. I think just some of the details were really, really cute and really nice. Like the little, I don't know. I don't want to give. I don't think there's surprises. I don't want to. We can cut it out.
No, go do it. Yeah, say
but
what?
Like the little boarding pass when we joined was really nice. Like little details like that. Excellent biscuits, I must say, which that goes a long way. Thanks for the biscuits. And although I was familiar with a lot of the material because I've done this before, it's still, I think you do just get something extra, I think, from being in a room of people and gosh, the questions, people have loads of questions. I was really surprised by how many sort of how many different ways people's fear like manifest the kind of things that they're really, and you kind of realise it reinforces it's the fear doing that. You can see the fear at work, and how our brains will just keep digging and digging and digging to find another thing to be anxious about. So I was
just going to ask a question. It's purely selfish reason, but we shut the door. Do you think we should have told people before that we'll go in there and shut the door? Or do you think it's better that it was a surprise?
I guess people are different, aren't they? I think it was better that it was a surprise for me, because I had to deal with the psychology, with the process that happened next in my brain. And so I did, I did feel I did feel a little bit proud of myself for just sitting with it. Other people might feel really differently, I guess. 'Cause people really, if they're not given the option or the choice, they might. But I don't think nobody said anything there. Nobody.
No.
I don't know how everybody else was feeling inside. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know whether 100% of people in the plane were feeling the same. Probably.
Because we're gonna double down on that one, actually, as they say. We're gonna thought, well, we did the stages of the flight and we had drinks and we opened the door at the end. We thought, well, let's do it. Let's notch it up a bit and make it even more like, we have to stay in here. We'll go through. We kind of did. We're going to do it even more next time. I just think it's a chance to sort of be in the environment, but know that it's a good way to practice. So we thought. So I'm glad that it was. I'm glad it triggered you a little bit.
Yeah, it did. It definitely did. Yeah. If there's any way that you can arrange for people to go down the slides.
Yeah, we did think about
that. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's a whole other risk assessment, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And you have to put these big orange boiler suits on, and
it's not time for that.
Yeah, we're going to make the course a bit longer next time as well. But we did debate like what's possible, But I think seeing the slides there is quite helpful in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, I loved it. I thought it was so. And then there was also a little kind of model, but not model, like there was a pilot seat, so you could kind of see, what kind of seat the pilot sits in. Yeah, I thought it was great, and it's just nice to meet. Everyone walked in and they were like, "I'm such and such," and I was like, "I know, I listened to you a lot."
Yeah. Because the nice, I really like the fact that there were some people there that knew each other from the Facebook group. And, there was names that are familiar. And I felt, it was bizarre, but I felt like I was meeting some sort of friends I hadn't seen for years. And it might sound a bit cheesy, but because you see people's names come up or, and also, obviously, a lot of people listen to the podcast. We don't know who listens. We can see the numbers. But I felt like it just felt like a reconnection, different to the first version of the courses I used to run where, 100 or 200 people would turn up. And we didn't know them at all. They just all come through Google,
Yeah. No, it was very different. There's a much smaller group. I think there's more time then for those questions as well, isn't there? More interaction. And it was great. Like to hear, is it Jamie? Like Jamie's story. It was really great.
Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that he's done. He spoke. Like obviously we've got Captain Steve talking about technical stuff. And is it Sarah?
Yeah.
Talking about that, all their kind of like the knowledge and the functions and all the rest of it. But he really spoke from the heart, didn't he? From his experience, and I think that that was really nice. That was really nice to hear.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's good. I'm glad it was helpful for you. But so you've got a flight coming up in how long?
The 31st of May. I'm flying, and you know what? I think when you talk about triggers, I think part of so with this flight, so my friends booked the flight. We're flying at 4:00 in the afternoon, which is I'm like a morning flight flyer. And she's booked the seats. And we're on like row 22 or something, which is just like, oh my God. So I suppose I'm having to do something new there, but I'm leaning into it. I'm up for it. And I need to remember, because I've been watching like a lot of people, the people who do filming at airports, and when it's been stormy, we've had some like really like entertaining.
So I've
been watching those, which is really, I think when I first started watching them, it was really helpful. It was really, it kind of helped me realise, wind is not a problem. They know what they're doing. It's fine. They can deal with storms. It's absolutely fine. But I think because I then watched a lot of it, it's almost like as a bit of my brain has gone, it's like increased the chances of me having a landing like that. And I need to, I think doing, because my brain has kind of gone, like 100% of the videos of planes landing you've watched this year, like all of them have to do that weird like grabbing thing. But I just have to remember, no, that's because that's all I've consumed.
Yeah.
So
You
again,
watch the normal landing. So
exactly.
well, it's not normal, but like
yeah, like it's much more likely that my flight is going to be very routine and a few little bumps probably, but just bit of cloud, but it's not going to be worthy of a YouTube channel.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, your flight didn't make the cut. It's too bad.
Yeah, we didn't make. Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
After it landed. Sorry. But I mean, they're all pretty to the pilots. That's just they're doing their day job, isn't it? To us looking on, it can be like, "Oh, look at that, it's exciting." But for them, it's just their job,
Yeah. When I was a kid, me and my sister and my cousins, we used to watch a film called Airplane.
Oh yeah,
which is absolutely a really hilarious film, and we watched it. But in my brain, when it's like on a wire, like bouncing around. That's in if I go to the wrong place in my head, that's what I'm imagining is happening when we're going through cloud or there's a bit of weather. Just need to remember that was a silly film.
Yeah, it was very silly. Yeah. Think about the autopilot. So yes. Yeah, we never watched it, because I think it was around in a certain point, and now it might look really dated, but at the time,
it is quite dated, but it's really funny, but it's not helpful for the bank of images of what flying looks like.
No, that's true. Yeah. So, in terms of like tips for people, because you've done a lot of work. I'd be interested in what things that you found helpful. Is there any particular podcast that you would recommend, episode wise, or other resources that you dipped into?
Do you know what? I can't remember the actual episode numbers. I think, I mean, they're all great. There's something to learn from every one of them. I've very recently listened to Melissa's podcast, which is her 2-part podcast, and that's really great. She really talks in depth about her journey with it. That's quite inspiring, I think.
Yes.
And again, really recognised with some of just how she was feeling in some of those moments. So I would recommend that one. I think.
Yeah, she's done amazing as well, hasn't she? She's shown on the flight. So you also did that session with Steve. Did you listen to that one where she quizzed him?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was incredible. I thought it was.
And it went on afterwards. I had to go, so they went. They did about another half an hour afterwards, I think.
Yeah. I would like to. I mean, I'm sure there probably are people who would have other questions, but you'd have to dig really deep to find another question. That was amazing. So thorough. I think in terms of specific tips, I think the fundamental thing for me is that it's that thing about opening your mind to, you're not going to figure it all out in your head. You're not going to sit there thinking and suddenly be like, I figured it all out, I'm not scared anymore. That's just not how it works. But all you need to do is just give yourself a little bit of room to think, maybe I could feel a bit differently about this.
Yeah.
And that's something I have to return to, but that's, and I know that you can feel differently about it because I have, like last year when I moved to Bordeaux, I did feel really different in the airport than I felt before. But it sounds impossible. I think if someone's really, really like grasping onto their fear, that feels impossible. And like, it sounds, it's really easy to say that, but yeah, I think if you can accept that, then you can make good progress. I think just realise that you can feel a bit differently about it. It is a bit of a mindset, and and just listen to the podcast. There's great stuff in there. There's stuff about turbulence. I don't know. That's not very specific, really, but that's just my my most fundamental principle. I think is doing that. Something else. Yeah, any of the podcasts about anticipatory anxiety, I think they're really helpful. It kind of helps you realise what you're doing to yourself. and how you're like living in a future that's not real. Yeah, and just really connect with what it means to you. I think, like, what are the personal reasons that you want to deal with it? What's it going to add to your life?
Yes.
What experiences are you able to have? Yeah, for me, it's that. It's like sort of connect with the sort of feeling, you know, real inner feelings about it.
No, that's great. That's right. Are you listening every week to the new ones, or do you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Anything you'd like? Is there anything that's missing that you'd like to? Anyone you'd like to hear from? What? Yeah.
I don't think so. I think you've covered a lot. It's amazing the people who, you know, you've had like people with expertise in different aspects of aviation, like people with different like you know, experts in different like psychological techniques or whatever. I don't know. I'll have to.
Oh, that's all right. Well, they didn't.
Yeah.
But it's John Bond now. He's finding all these new and interesting guests. I think I did it for a while, but then I had some really good, great ones up to, you know, a certain point, and then John started to find some just really interesting.
Yeah.
You're even hoping to get an astronaut on.
Yes, he did say that. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say that, but that would be incredible.
It's out there, John. You know, John's like.
Okay.
So we're hoping to confirm that, but we've had other people in the past to keep things come through, and we're also Aviation's coming on at some point. She was booked, and then we had to move it. So she does lots of filming of flights and takeoffs and stuff, and so I'd like to get a few others like that on me as well, because it's quite interesting, you know. But I think it's just nice to sort of get that broad, and I've learned so much myself, selfishly, you know. It's all about me.
It's a big effort to just to learn more yourself, isn't it? I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm interested in it, but also it's like I said to Gita before. I've learned so much about anxious flyers. I mean, I felt like I got patterns before, but I think I've learned more individual stories. That's what's been really, really amazing for me. So thank you to you as well for coming along.
Oh no, thank you. It's I mean, it's helpful to talk about it. Really, I think. Yeah. So yeah, May 31st, I'll probably be on the Facebook group.
Please do, yeah. So we can sort of see how you get on. We want pictures, we want stories, a little bit of sort of, if you get a chance, a mini journal review type thing will be always really helpful for people to see how you did and that. So if you'll be so kind, that'd be amazing.
Definitely will.
But thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. Hope that something from this like resonates with someone and it helps them.
Yeah, I think you've shown what's possible when you just keep moving towards it, and some of the things you've experienced because you've faced it. Oh yeah. And you continue to face it. I think that's really inspiring for people. So thank you.
Good.